The following is a podcast from a qualified senior care provider heard on the Answers for Elders radio show.
And welcome back, everyone, to Answers for Elders Radio Network. And we are here in a very special series called The Vitality Revolution. And this, again, is going on for the next 4 months. And we're covering the 8 foundational principles of wellness. This month, in the month of June, we talk about physical wellness. We're also talking about emotional wellness. How do we nurture and be nurtured? This is so important. It's what we say to ourselves, how we live our lives, how we can feel a general positive sense of well-being. And you know, Lori Hudson is here with us on behalf of our gold sponsor, Humana. And Lori, welcome back to Answers for Elders Radio.
Thank you so much.
Lori,
here.
Yeah, emotional wellness. Obviously, it's the ability to laugh. It's the ability to nurture. It's the ability to feel a sense of well-being. Would you kind of share with me, what is your definition for emotional wellness?
Well, it's really managing our well-being, I feel like take charge of that. And so when you look at the history, we've been emotional beings for centuries, but it really started coming to the forefront really in the 40s and 50s in last century, that these psychologists and psychiatrists started thinking, oh, hey, wait a second, maybe we should become more aware of our emotional well-being. And then in the 70s, 80s, it really started taking off. And so it's really managing our well-being, I feel like, is really important, or really the core definition of it is that we're taking charge. And
I think about those individuals, and that may have negative self-talk. It affects self-esteem. Even if you say it in humor, sometimes I've heard that the unconscious mind does not comprehend the difference between, a joke and not, right? So being in, surrounding yourselves with relationships that support you as an individual, that nurture you as a friend, that are, supportive, that has to do with, all different types of relationships. That is something that's so vitally important. And I think a lot of people, it's interesting, out of our wellness wheel of all the different foundational principles of wellness, one of the things that people say is, I don't understand what emotional wellness means. And it really has to do with that sense of, honoring yourself as an independent, as an individual, and making sure that your emotional needs are met. And I think that's important. Oftentimes we don't ask for those things. We don't take a stand when other people may treat us not, well. Do you have some examples of, how to improve that?
I sure do. And I really feel like we are becoming a society that is more and more aware and recognizing that this is really essential. It's not just fluff or, something to think about. And I thought about what you just said about our self-talk and what we say out loud. So words do have a lot of meaning. So if we're talking about ourselves or joking about ourselves, or somebody pays you a compliment and you say, oh, well, you really need to learn to accept that and love ourselves. And I know it can be really difficult, but one way is gratitude. That's a huge
yes,
it is. If you can think of one thing to be grateful for, the more we're in gratitude, the more it just our self-esteem flourishes. And so I have had a ritual for a long time where I get up in the morning and I write down 5 things that I'm grateful for. And it might be something so simple. We were talking offline about our pets, and it could be some funny little thing that my dog Ruby did, or our kids came over for Mother's Day, and watching all the
Mhm.
little kids go through 500 water balloons, it can be
Yeah.
so tiny. But if we're just letting life float by and we're not really recognizing those things,
Mhm.
we're really missing an opportunity
Well, and
to really
and
um,
it's I think what you're saying is so valuable because how often do we not, number one, say what we're grateful for, but how often are we in relationships, whether it's a parent or it's a sibling or it's someone that don't appreciate us for who we are, and I think it's important to ask for what you need in a relationship. If you're in a husband or a wife situation where they're taking you for granted, that doesn't wield well either. Emotional wellness is a real piece of that. And I think it's speaking your intention. It's telling you what you will accept and what you won't. All those things are important in this whole process of making sure that you have a well-being. If you're in a relationship, that is two people. And if you're not getting your needs met, this can go down the rabbit hole, correct?
very much so. But one of the other things that I would take on to that is that we have to learn how to meet our own needs. So
Absolutely.
we have to speak up. But then what I've noticed, and my husband and I have been together 20 years, and it's not always roses, but
Mhm.
if I'm really irritated at him, if I start thinking about all these good qualities, he has this quality, that
Yes.
quality, and sometimes we don't want to accept any less than what we deserve,
Mhm.
but then there's always give and take as well. And so I realized that I'm not a perfect human being either. And what
No.
I noticed is when I started working towards recognizing all the qualities in him that I appreciate, then that in a way is meeting my own
Mhm.
needs as
Mhm.
well.
Mhm.
And that can be huge, is just speaking in
Absolutely.
mind, but then taking care of your own emotions and
Yeah.
being in
Yeah.
that gratitude, trying to recognize, all those things in others, maybe not just your spouse, but people
Mhm.
you work with
Yeah.
or your kids
Yeah.
or grandkids or whoever it
Yeah.
is. It's just to really stop and appreciate their qualities that you enjoy. And then you just start realizing once you do that, then it's like, oh, then now I see this, now I see that. And it really opens your
Exactly.
eyes to appreciating more and more of
Well, I
life.
love, I love, Lori, when you talk about the 5 things you're grateful for every day. Those are so powerful. And when you think about something so small as that, it's a powerful thing because we have the opportunity to really see how good our life is outside of the challenges. A lot of time, we struggle with challenges, whether it's, had a bad day or you had a disagreement with somebody that you care about, or all these things that can tend to consume your thoughts. But you also can be grateful for what you learned in a situation. And there's so many people out there that listen to our podcasts that are taking care of loved ones, that are getting their buttons pushed because maybe, your loved one is angry because they're not well, or they're taking it out on you or something like that. As a family caregiver, there's so many things that you have to be grateful for. And, I learned a lot at the end of my journey with my mother, what the things I gained from that experience, that I was so, immersed in it, taking care of her, that I didn't see it, at the time. And I think that's one of the things when you say that, the 5 things you're grateful for, it may be sometimes you don't think that there's anything out there, but if you really think hard enough, you have a lot of things to be grateful for.
There are, and if you set a goal,
Mhm.
I set my goal, 5 things.
Mhm.
Well, if I'm having a bad day, that might take some digging. It might
Mhm.
be some little tiny thing, but if you set a
Mhm.
goal and not just put a very vague
Mhm.
statement out there that I'm going to think about what I'm grateful for, but if
Mhm.
you set a measurable goal that I will think of, no matter how tiny it is, or, some days it's the same thing as it was yesterday, maybe one or two of them,
Mhm.
but you're still bringing that to your awareness.
Yeah.
And, part of this emotional health and I was talking a little bit about the history, and part of this is that we started as a society becoming more self-aware, and this self-actualization term that came in maybe around in the 70s or 80s, and that's really becoming our best self.
Yeah. Well, and I think too, when you talk about, there's a lot of ways in which we can emotionally support ourselves. There's obviously therapy. If someone needs that self-esteem, they may feel, I know that there's a lot of therapists that help family caregivers get through. There's podcasts to listen to, obviously, that we have that help, and we hope that this series will help. What are some other types of programs that people could get involved in?
Well, there's always, if you can't afford a therapist, there's support groups, but there's also the National Alliance on Mental Illness. And that is a national program. So I would recommend going to their website and looking at some resources there, and just finding something in your own community. And, sometimes maybe it's a church or a support group or family member.
Yeah. Well, and I think too, it's just really, it's the self-talk that you give yourself every day. Catch yourself. I know that we say it sometimes unconsciously on things that we may put ourselves down. It's not okay to put yourself down, and I, I love that, we get to celebrate who we are every year on our birthday, because you deserve it. You are the beloved child of God, and you were created in whatever that is. And we all go through challenges, but the best way for you to get out of it is to know that you're able and that you're capable. And I think that's that feeling of the belief in who you are. And with that, I know that you and I have talked a lot about that, and we will probably continue to do so through this series. So Lori, how do we reach you?
The best way to reach me is my website, which is HudsonInsuranceSolutions.com. And it's Hudson with a T, HUTSON, insurancesolutions.com. And so if you're in Washington State and you fill out the form on the website, the contact me form, I will contact you directly. If you're out of state, I will pass that on, and I will get an agent in your area that can help you.
Yes. Well, Lori, I'm so glad that we've spent this time. And for those of you that are interested in this series, we invite you to just come back and subscribe to our Apple Podcasts. You'll see when we drop more content on the Vitality Revolution and more, or just go to our website and you can get a lot of information about later life through the way showers that we have, like Lori. And Lori, thank you so much for being on the program. And we're excited with 4 more episodes coming up this month. So stay tuned, everyone. And until next week, be good to each other. We at Answers for Elders thank you for listening. Did you know that you can discover hundreds of podcasts in our library on senior care? So visit our website and discover our decision guides that will help you also navigate decision making. Find us at answersforelders.com.